Kansas City Chiefs going to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. The Chiefs are 3-point road favorites. Over-under is 52. Let's talk about some of the stakes here. According to the New York Times playoff predictor, the Cowboys playoff odds with a win, they jump to 22%. They drop down to 7% if they lose this game, so we can pretty much forget about it if they lose this game. They can't really afford really any losses the rest of the way. Meanwhile, Kansas City, their playoff odds jump up to 73% if they win this game. If they lose this game, it's down to 46%. So not only does this look like a really fun game on paper, Ray, it looks like a really meaningful game for both sides. Let's once again start off with the visiting team here. Let's talk about when Kansas City has the ball. Just 2 injury notes before I throw it to you. Number 1, Isaiah Pacheco will be back for this game. So they get their starting running back back. Number 2, however, to kind of stick with that run game theme, their star offensive guard, Trey Smith, is not going to play in this game. It will once again be Mike Caliendo in his spot, which did not go so well. Last week for the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. So with that backdrop, Ray, what are we looking at when the Chiefs have the ball?
That's a big loss for Kansas City. Trey Smith, losing him versus what I'll talk about has been a revamped Dallas defense is not ideal for Kansas City, but what a resilient win from them last Sunday, because that was do or die as well. I mean, this one really, they got to keep going, but they had to beat Indianapolis, and they came back, and there wasn't a lot. There was 1 touchdown scored and just a bunch of field goals for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think for the offensive side of the ball, when you got 15 back there, when you've got Patrick Mahomes, you got a shot, right? I mean, there was plays in the game last week where he was trying to run the ball. There was no sliding. He was just ducking his head saying, I got to get it. So anytime you got 15 back there, you got a chance. Rashee Rice is going to be problematic for whomever they play. We saw him ball out 140 yards in the matchup. They're going to have to connect on deep shots, and they have not been able to do that. They're going to have to hit the deep play. And whether it doesn't matter who it's been against, and it's not just this season. This has been a problem with Kansas City for the past couple of years. If they can't hit on the deep ball, it just makes things incredibly difficult. And we saw Kareem Hunt. Kudos to him. And it's 3 yards an attempt, but without Kareem Hunt, they don't win that game. 30 carries, he gets over 100 yards, but if you watched it, when they needed a first down, He's shaking off defenders and picking up the 2. Like, he is truly engineing that thing along in Kansas City outside of Rashee Rice. So I think it's going to be a lot of what we've already seen. This is a tough task for Kansas City. It's a 2-game sample size, Matt. I don't want to overreact. But since the trade, the addition of Quinn Williams and Logan Wilson and getting DeMarvion Overshown back, getting Siobhan Revel and Malik Hooker and Donovan Wilson back, all we've said is if this defense can just be average along with what they have offensively, they can be a problem. Well, that defensive front is a big-time problem. Big-time problem for opposing offensive lines, especially those that are hurting on the offensive front with the addition of Quinn Williams there, Ezaraku off the edge. DeMarvion Overshown, the linebacker, serviceable enough, and the secondary is coming together. This defense has drastically improved from giving up almost 400 yards per game, second worst in the NFL, to right now over the past 2 games, 287 yards, 7th best in the NFL. Before the trade, they were allowing about 143 rushing yards per game. 2-game sample size, they're giving up 45 yards per game. Quinn Williams is a superstar type player in the middle that can rush from the edge. I think Kansas City, they have their work cut out for them offensively because this Dallas defense is much improved.
I think I'm with you there. Look, all the caveats apply about 2-game sample, and really, is it a 2-game sample here for the Dallas Cowboys? Because one of those games was against the Raiders. So maybe it's like a 1.5-game sample against NFL competition for the Dallas Cowboys. But at the same time, they were still good against the Eagles. I mean, they weren't so good on the back end necessarily. A.J. Brown had his moments. Devontae Smith had his moments, which, I mean, that's going to happen. Those guys are obviously great players. Even if Brown has taken a step back this year, he's still a really good receiver in the way that he was able to get loose on some of the in-breakers that they used him on finally. That was good to see for the Philadelphia Eagles. But still, the Cowboys came out of that one, and they gave up. They spotted him 21 points, as Shoddy said. It wasn't all defense either, but it is what it is. They go up 21 points, and then they slow it down, though. So that was good to see. And you mentioned Quinnen Williams, dude. He has been unbelievable. Quinnen Williams, according to Next Gen Stats, 13 pressures, 1.5 sacks, 22.4% pressure rate, third best in the NFL among players with 20-plus pass rushes in this span. In his first 2 games with the Dallas Cowboys. 5 or more pressures in each game with Dallas after failing to reach that mark in any game with the Jets this season. He's been everything they could have possibly wanted and more. And in this game, if it's Kingsley Suamataia, who's I think played fine on balance this year, but he's one of the guards, and then Caliendo's starting at the other guard spot, Williams looks like he's set up to be really disruptive once again in this matchup.
Listen, I think so. Trace and we talk about that guy. That's a big loss for Kansas City. That's a big loss. And yeah, it's 2 games, but I mean, if you've watched this defense you can tell. Like, it doesn't, whether it's versus the Raiders or the Eagles, like there is clearly significant disruption happening up front. I mean, hell, the Eagles every offensive line is banged up at this point, right? When you're rolling out Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn at linebacker, like you're not gonna stop anybody. When you don't have your safeties back there, they got these safeties back. They immediately cut the other guys that they had back there. We got some health back. Get out of here. You're gone. We don't even need you anymore. So listen, y'all can take it however you want to take it. 2 game sample size, 1.5 game sample size, 1 game sample size. Quinn Williams on this defensive line with Overshown and Logan Wilson at the linebacking core and a healthy secondary, this defense is better. Kansas City has their work cut out for them because A, they still can't run the damn ball, whether it's Pacheco or Hunt. B, on the outside, they can't hit the deep plays. C, you tell me I need to be worried about 37-year-old Travis Kelce? It's the Rashee Rice and Patrick Mahomes show. If they can't execute that, they will not win this game. They will not win this game.
Look at the confidence just dripping off Ray Garvin right now. Cowboys Nation.
Never a doubt.
Producer Colin, I'm sure in the green room, is going absolutely berserk listening to this Cowboys hype from his guy Ray Garvin here. And look, I think I'm pretty much with you there that this defense is objectively better. But like I said, it's all about, can they go from 31st in the league? Can they be like 22nd? That is a huge improvement, even if they're the 22nd best defense in the league. And when Quinnen Williams is hot, I think that they can be even an average defense over the course of a game. You know, some rough moments, some really great moments equals out to about an average unit. That would be huge for Dallas if they can get to that level. And obviously that is the air that Quinnen Williams holds right now. The thing is, though, I do think, Ray, if they are able to block it up, if Kansas City is able to protect in this game, I think there will be a lot of favorable matchups for the Kansas City receivers in this game in particular and the passing game because a couple of different reasons. One, we saw last week, Ali Connolly had this post that the man versus zone splits are once again really stark in this game against the Colts last week. So 59% dropbacks against zone, 41% against man. On their plays against zone coverage, 74% completion rate, 100.2 passer rating. On their plays against man coverage, 48% completion rate, 45 passer rating. So huge split there, and that has been the case all year. I've been yapping about it all season. I wrote a whole column on it last week. They were able to play against man coverage in this Colts game, and that was really all they needed to eventually win the game. But it's still primarily they're feasting off zone coverage. Rashee Rice this year, 3.44 yards per route run against zone coverage. He's been insane when they're getting into those zone coverage situations. Now, the question is, what does Dallas play? Well, even if we're just isolating this over the last 2 weeks, this magical little stretch here where they've become this good defense when they faced the Eagles and a half of an NFL team in the Las Vegas Raiders. They've still played zone coverage at the 4th highest rate in the league, and they gave up the 9th highest points per drop back in terms of where their zone coverage looks. So if the Chiefs are able to block it up, I think we will see a good game from Mahomes. We'll see a good game from Rashee Rice, and then obviously some of the other kind of ancillary players fitting in there.
Well, what do you think about those ancillary players, though? I agree with you. Rashee Rice should eat regardless. Like that's Mahomes. He should be great in this one. Like I don't think there's a corner out there that can keep. You know what? I don't think there's a corner on Dallas that can keep up with Xavier Worthy either, or probably Tyquan Thornton, maybe even Hollywood Brown. The issue is, can they hit those shots? As much as people dog out Jalen Hurts, he was able to convert some of those deep shots on Dallas. Devontae Smith down the field, pushing the ball vertically to A.J. Brown. He converted those. The issue is Kansas City, their inability to do that, their inability to connect on some of those deep shots. So I don't care what the defense does. Rice should be able to play very well. Rice should have a good game. We'll see about Mahomes. We'll see. I don't know about that one. I think Mahomes might be able to distribute the ball to Rice. I don't think he's going to be able to run around on Dallas like he has other teams. And if he can't convert the deep shot, I don't know how he gets his points unless you tell me Rice goes 3 tuds. If he gets in his zone 3 times, then I mean, that'd be great. But I'm not trusting the deep shot. I'm not trusting it right now not because they can't get it, not because they shouldn't be able to do it. It's because they haven't been able to do it for 3 damn years.
All that is really fair. All that is really fair. I think that one thing to be interested in this game, you mentioned like which of these corners can hang with which of these receivers. Like for Rashee Rice, doesn't even matter, bro. Like he's gonna be covered by your boy Jack Sanborn and Murray and stuff like that. He might catch 10 balls in this game. He might legitimately catch 10 passes in this game. I don't know about Worthy. I don't know about Hollywood Brown, but you know who actually does kind of have like a good schematic matchup, at least, is Tyquan Thornton, who did not catch a pass in this game against the Colts. And Chiefs fans are like, why aren't we using this guy more? And I kind of agree. Not that I'm some big Tyquan Thornton stan, but I think he should play over Hollywood Brown. Like, enough. We know what Brown is. Okay. Like I'd like to see a little bit more of Tyquan Thornton. The Cowboys in this 2-game stretch here where they've turned it around on defense, 9th highest points per drop back allowed in single high, 5th lowest in 2 high, which typically the Chiefs don't get a lot of single high, but when they have gotten it, Tyquan Thornton leads the team in yards per out run against single high, 9 catches, 229 yards. When they see that, he's been the guy that's gotten those shot plays. So it's definitely not a fantasy play. Because, look, we're showing the projections on the screen right now. Love it when I'm hyping up a guy who the projection is 1 catch for 12 yards. It's probably not a fantasy play, but maybe if you're looking at props, something like that, any little pick'em situation, hey, maybe there it's a over on the yards. It's a longest reception type thing. We see a big play out of Tyquan Thornton this week. That's kind of what I think they'll need to keep up with this Cowboys offense, Ray, because we'll get to them right after you kind of respond here. But, bro, the Cowboys offense is cooking right now.
We talked about this, it was months ago. I can't remember the actual show, but it was right before Rice came back, and we were talking about Tyquan Thornton. He was pretty good when he was involved in this offense. Like it seemed to work well with Tyquan Thornton. I'm sitting back right now and like, is he not the second best receiver on this team behind damn Rashee Rice? Like, why is he not out there some more? Like, why do we keep dealing? Why is Hollywood Brown out there? Xavier Worthy, I love him. I had so much hope for this season. It was derailed on the 3rd play of the game. It's just been derailed. There's no connection there. He's just out there, and if he doesn't get his deep shot, then he's getting 27 yards, right? I would look, if Tyquan Thornton, he would be a great anytime touchdown play, right? We're not professional batters over here or nothing like that, but I do think he could get deep against this Cowboys team, especially if they play that mess and throw Malik Hooker out there in the middle. Again, the Chiefs just need to convert it, man. Like some of these shots that we're talking about, Matt, these aren't like tight window throws, right? Like he's throwing it 50 yards downfield and it's got to be pinpoint act. The dude's wide open, man. Just get it in the vicinity of the receiver and let them go get it. So I know he's not going to play. He's projected for 1 catch, 12 yards, but I think schematically they probably should use Thornton a little bit more. They probably should.
Yeah. Anytime touchdown, by the way, on BetMGM, plus 800 for Tyquan Thornton. The following players have better odds to score a touchdown according to BetMGM. Producer Colin's favorite player, Ryan Flournoy, Robert Tonyan, Kavontae Turpin, the Chiefs defense, the Cowboys defense. I mean, yeah, let's do it, dude. I love this. We're calling the shot right now. I don't know if it's a touchdown, but I'm saying big play for Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton, at least a 20-plus yard reception on the day for Tyquan Thornton against this Cowboys defense. There we go. That's why you're tuning into the show to hear about Tyquan Thornton as you're like halfway through your Thanksgiving meal, maybe a little bit of maybe a little bit of overserved at that point. You're like, hey,
right
there he is, Tyquan Thornton. Love to see it. All right, let's talk about the offense that everybody wants to hear about. That is the Dallas Cowboys offense. And Ray, I'll get it started here with a note on these wide receivers, which has been a big talking point this week, obviously. Both Cowboys wide receivers are top 8 in yards and first downs per route run versus man coverage this season. George Pickens is also 5th and 4th in yards and first downs, respectively, versus zone coverage this year. CeeDee Lamb is a little bit behind him. And I love this stat, by the way, because it actually calls into an email we got today from a shout out to Dustin at Good Ecosystem, sent in an audio question about these Cowboys wide receivers. You know, and Dustin, appreciate the email. Not going to play it here because, buddy, it was kind of a long one. And, you know, we're not going to, this isn't the mailbag show. It was a long one. And honestly, it was basically the premise of the question was, wanted me to kind of say, hey, weigh in on the discussion of who's better, George Pickens or CeeDee Lamb. Is George Pickens actually better than CeeDee Lamb? Number one, Dustin, I did listen to it. It sounded like you had already convinced yourself that to the answer to that question. So what do you need me for, dude? You got eyeballs. You tell me what you think. I think clearly think that George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb. And Ray, you and I were talking about this before the show. What's the answer to this question?
I think they are both top 10 wide receivers right now. And I'm not going to say George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we're talking about a guy who had 1,800 yards a few years ago. But here's what I'll say. Here's how I say it, Matt. We talked about this offense being like the NFC's version of the Cincinnati Bengals, right? We said that before the season started. This could be a Jamar Chase, T. Higgins situation. I think that George Pickens is closer to CeeDee Lamb than T. Higgins is Jamar Chase. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. I think George Pickens, his skill set and ability to play receiver is closer to CeeDee Lamb than what T. Higgins is compared to Jamar Chase. I think these are both two incredible wide receivers, but that's kind of how I sum it up, Matt.
I think that's perfect way to say it, and it makes a ton of sense because number one, CeeDee Lamb, little bit not as good as Jamar Chase, and I think George Pickens, this version of George Pickens, is absolutely better than T. Higgins, who's a damn fine receiver in his own right. Now, here to answer the question, I mean, right now in this moment in time, who is playing better? It's George Pickens. George Pickens is playing better than CeeDee Lamb right now. I think CeeDee Lamb would tell you that. CeeDee Lamb talking to the media today, you know, hey, we got to work out the problems. He's like, and we all know what the problems is. I got to catch the ball. I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but that was basically what he said. I got to catch the ball. And yeah, 100%. He said catch the something ball, but this is a family program. So we know what CeeDee Lamb needs to do. He needs to catch that football. But I mean, to say that George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb, again, right now in this moment, it is definitely true. On balance, I mean, people can try to gaslight me all they want that, no, George Pickens has always been this player and just he was in the steel. He's not always been the player. He's not always played at the level he is playing right now. He has gotten better and better every single year of his NFL career, and right now he's peaking. But to say in the middle of last season or even 2 years ago, oh, George Pickens is better than CeeDee Lamb, that would have been crazy. Like, Lamb has the resume, the body of work, I think, to still be considered. If I was to sit here and draft wide receivers to be on my real football team, I would take CeeDee Lamb ahead of George Pickens. But Pickens is playing better right now, which just goes to your point, dude, that these are two unbelievable wide receivers that I think the Cowboys will lock up and keep together for the long term.
Matt, let me ask you this about this, because I know you remember the graphic, because you and I talked about the fit of Pickens in Dallas with Lamb's skill set. I think the blessing in disguise for George Pickens, and probably the best thing that's happened to him, was when CeeDee Lamb got hurt, they had to deploy him in a lot of different ways. Some of the things that he's asked to do right now for Dallas is not what he was asked to do in Pittsburgh. Like, he's running over the middle of the field. He's doing and I think Dallas trusts him. The first couple of games when even I was a little bit like, I don't really like, all they were doing was throwing deep shots to him. It was just go route, and they would not connect on him. He'd draw pass interference. But once Lamb was injured and they had kind of no option and choice but to do that, they're like, hey, he can run a slant route. He can run an over route. He can run a corner route. Like, his route tree and the way that he's been deployed in Dallas, it's shifted, because them first few games, it was just 9 route, go ball, go ball, go ball. And that's how they were using him, just kind of what he did in Pittsburgh. And it's changed. I don't know if you've noticed that as well, but it's changed.
If anything, too, well, number one, I agree with your point that like the over routes and the dig routes, that's something he was not doing in Pittsburgh that they are asking him to do this year, and he's been incredible. And that's been an obvious area of growth for him. But like the slant route, I talked about this kind of ad nauseum this week because Tom Brady kept pointing out that that's George Pickens' best route. That's something he started to develop last season, and it's carried over to this year. So if anything, Array, I think it wasn't that they changed his usage when CeeDee Lamb went out, because they still kind of deployed him as a pure outside guy. It was just, hey, we have to make this guy the featured player of the offense, and that built the chemistry between him and Dak Prescott, which has just been on point, because you couldn't have said this any better. In the first couple games of the season, he's kind of running a sacrificial X route tree. He's kind of just, it's a lot of goes, it's a lot of clearing space for CeeDee and Jake Ferguson. And then when CeeDee's out, it's like, well, all right, our number one guy, we're not going to take George Pickens out of X, but he's going to be our X and he's going to be our number one read in most of the progressions. And they realize, oh my God, not only is this guy so good and he's playing great football, Dak Prescott and him have a near flawless chemistry and connection. So that has been really encouraging to see. And in this matchup in particular, I think it'll be really interesting when we come back to that man coverage stuff where both of these guys are good, but George Pickens has been so incredible. The Chiefs play man coverage on 43% of their late downs this season. That is the 11th highest rate in the league. And the question there is, who is Trent McDuffie going to be covering? Because McDuffie, their best corner by far, 5.1 yards per target in coverage this season, according to Next Gen Stats. That's the fourth fewest among 87 cornerbacks, targeted at least 30 times. Does he track CeeDee Lamb in this game? Because he's not taking more than 38% of his snaps at left outside, right outside, or slot corner? Or does he kind of cover, because he's that little move around guy, he plays in the nickel sometimes. That's obviously more Lamb's role, whereas Pickens is on the perimeter. So I could see a bounce back game for Lamb. I could see another big game for Pickens. I think this matches up pretty well with what the Cowboys like to do on offense.
And I do think if he were going to travel and I were to project him traveling with anybody, it would be CeeDee Lamb. Let's not forget, Lamb did have 75 yards. He dropped a touchdown and dropped like 2 other passes where if he just catches the ball, he's over 100 yards and a touchdown himself. Yeah. And he led the team in targets still. So if McDuffie's going to follow anybody, I think it would be CeeDee Lamb. This is a tough matchup for Dallas. This is a tough matchup for the Cowboys. That's my squad. I love them. I have fun with them on the show. But this run defense is no joke for Kansas City. And we saw them completely neutralize the best running back in football, Jonathan Taylor, last week. They've only allowed one 100-yard rusher on the season. They are a top 10 rushing unit, period. And then against the pass, they're no joke either. Fantasy points allowed for this defense. They're top 10 defense versus wide receivers as far as fantasy scoring. They're a little more generous to the slot receiver, but not much. They're very, very tough against outside wide receivers. This is a tough defense. And conversely, I forgot to drop this data point in there for the Cowboys section, which will just speak more to our anytime touchdown play for Tyquan Thornton. They are dead last versus outside receivers, allowing 27 points per game to outside wide receivers, the Dallas Cowboys are. So deep shots should be available to them as well. But this is a tough defense, this run defense for Kansas City. I do not think Javonte Williams is going to find a lot of success. They are 8th best in explosive runs allowed, only 26 carries this season have gone 10 plus yards against Kansas City. They're holding opponents to 97 rushing yards a game, 8th best in the league. So Dak's going to have to get it done through the air. I think he's going to have to get it done through the air. This is another game, 52 points. I don't know, man. I don't know if it's going to be this massive fireworks shootout in Dallas. That's high with how well this Kansas City defense plays overall. And they gave up those 2 early touchdowns to Indianapolis, and they were locked down after that. They gave up them 2 early ones, and that was it after halftime. So difficult matchup for the Dallas Cowboys, no doubt.
Yeah, really excited to watch this one, and I hope you're wrong about the points. I think I could see this one being a back and forth.
You see this one going over? Yeah, I'm taking the under, Matt. I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under on that one. I'm taking the under.